side. That was awesome. But I hope your summer's going good. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Zach. And I want to kick off this fun. This is their second week, week 2. 5, 6, 7. Are 6 chairs. Isn't going to be musical chairs. What you have to do is while the music's playing, instead of walking around the chair, and you find a chair. Oh, all right, come up here and for the first time, share your name. Sweetheart, robes. All right, find a seat, find a seat, find a seat, find a seat. Where'd it go? I'm going to move the chair, one of the chairs, whenever y'all start spinning off. So if you see a chair, didn't quite make it. What's your name?
Haley.
Everybody say, hey, Haley. Here's your candy, Haley. Go ahead and stand up. All right, what's your name? Let everybody know. All right, Chase, what's up? There's your candy. Go ahead and stay. I didn't know if they would do it. First, know it. Go ahead and share your name with the group.
I'm Renee.
Say, hey. Left to right sway. We'll see if they kill each other. Please don't. Where's the last chair? Hey, come back here to the middle. We're gonna fall over. Where's the chair? Where's the chair? No! She's just gonna choose a random chair. Where to go? It's a very specific looking chair. Lead her in the right direction. There's one direction. She's going the wrong way. So close, but so far. Oh no! No! Did I just witness a casualty? Oh. 100% sure which one it was. Scott, can you point to the one? Was it the one with the pom-poms or the one with the pom-poms? Me. Me. I won. All right, come get your camera up for our in. Andy, here, don't come up on stage. There's one. Watch out. There's yours. Boom. Locked and have fun and hang out, but you also know we're going to bring it in and we're going to make a moment out of it, right? We are going to make this an intentional place. And so every week, into what we're doing, right? So we like to take a moment, we like to talk to God about not so good wherever you're at, what talking to God looks like. You don't know what that this is a safe place. Prayed before that you just write God. Just to kick this off, we take a moment. We focus. I'm going to take an extra moment of focus, and I want to pray specifically. You probably noticed that Tommy wasn't here. Pastor, he's awesome, but the reason he had it wasn't looking good, right? And he passed. His family, and he's grieving, and he's mourning. To pray for Tommy. I want God to be a part of what we're doing here tonight, but I also want God to be with Tommy and with Brittany and with their two boys right where they're at. Remember, I want to encourage you to reach out to him because there's no perfect things to say in moments like these if you've ever walked through this. But just knowing that you're there. You've got something else going on in your life. The next minute or so just to come forward and write down what it is that God has laid on your heart. But I'm just going to take a moment and we're just going to be still. We're going to be silent for a moment. I just want you to pray to yourself. You don't have to pray out loud. Doesn't have to be extreme. Close this out. All right. God, I believe moments like these, even in moments of loss, and in moments of grief and death, that you are there to comfort us. You're there to guide us and to lead that in Tommy and in his family's life right now, God. I know that you are so close to them that I ask that you would bring your comfort. And I just pray that tonight, that while we reflect on that, we remember that we would also just focus our hearts and our minds on what it is that you have in store for us, God, and that we would believe that, we would trust that. God, you're good. So we all say, amen.
I would love to encourage you to use this whole room. If you're sitting next to your best friend, don't. Spread out, use this whole room. I believe God's got something big. Distractions. We're not up here to entertain you guys. We're up here because we know God has just spread out, use this whole room. I worship you.
never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Even when I don't stop working, you never stop, you never. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never will. And even when I don't see. You never stop, you never stop working. Stop.
moving in this place, and we know that now, God, and we worship you with all we've got. Come on, guys, sing it together. There's nothing to fear now, for I'm safe. So when I did high, oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I deny, oh God, the battle belongs. Against me, hey. For Jesus, for you. You see the beauty, and all I see is the cross, God. You see the empty tomb. I'll fight on my knees, oh God, battle belongs. Lay at your feet, oh God. An almighty fortress, you go before against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle against the power of our God. Nothing can stand against the power in the shadows. You win every the power.
Worship. Yeah? Man, we don't get to see Brianna up here too. Listen, guys, if y'all don't get to come up here on Sundays, I want to invite you to come up here on Sundays. They're awesome. So if y'all didn't know, we do have services. I would mention one thing. There's one announcement for camp that is by the 24th through the 29th, I believe. Is that right, Rec Team? Rec Team, that's right. Cool. So if y'all haven't already .church, if you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot the website. That's the website, all right? Go to it, sign up, go home, tell your parents. Along with that. So next week, I want you to talk to Tommy about $1 million. But Back to the Future that we have been going through and walking through, and we have been looking at the difference, and we've been looking at it and how it can. This is the future. How do we change the future? Like, would anybody agree that things are good right or anything? You know, like it's not really great. Like, is changing the future even possible? It is. Back a little bit. If we in the future, and I'm guessing that you would not back and you're like, man, this is an awesome moment. I wish I could just sit in that moment forever and just forget in my life is the night before I proposed to my wife. Friend's couch, and we were supposed to be going into the mountains the next day. It's 1 a.m. because I'm trying to throw rose petals everywhere. I'm staring at this ring long that the light. I just sitting there and thinking, oh my goodness. I'll just never forget sitting. I can just relive that and just think about, listen, I don't care where life takes me, but I would sit in that moment forever. Listen, live some of our favorite moments, but there's more than one way to utilize a time machine, right? Not just to go back to relive some good past moments. There's probably a few past, right? Instead of going back and sitting in that moment, you'd go back and you'd change everything about that moment. Did anybody have a moment or a few? Yes to? Nope. Ain't happening. That class that I signed up for? Nope. Not happening. I would not be about it. Listen. A bit. Okay, listen, I'm like a mediocre Harry Potter fan. Thinking about this moment in Harry Potter, I believe it's the third one, Prisoner of Azkaban. Woo, I was jumping ahead. Hermione has this time traveling machine, right? She gets this machine, this time, and being the good student that she is, she's going back to take more classes, right? But somebody, and all of a sudden, this time machine, right? Hermione and Harry have a chance to go back and save someone's life, and even more than that, they can save a hypocrite. back and change what was going to be wrong, right? They could not and reshape the future, and they weren't sure they needed to go back, right? And so Dumbledore tracing my steps is a wise place to begin. Right? Go back, but don't let anybody know that you're there. Probably we could, but you're probably not ever going to get that opportunity to go back in time to save somebody's life. But here's what from that I want you to consider, okay? You could go back to the past and change the future. What you? Or would it be something that would you meet the needs for it? If you knew that going back and saving someone's life but remaining hidden and they never saw it, would you go back and do inspired by stories of people who are willing to do stuff to meet the needs of other people? Right? That's always an inspiring story. It's probably so back or going to help other people and saying, "Hey, listen, I don't need recognition." Right? Most of the time somebody helps somebody and they're like, "Where's my key to the city?" Right? Like recognition, right? Fighting for attention than somebody who's it's human nature to be selfish. This isn't something new. Humans have been obsessed since the beginning. Think about us, what we look like, how that might affect us, how that's going to impact us. This same thing. Somebody who's obsessed with themselves, somebody who thinks that they have all the answers, somebody who thinks that some of you may heard it. So in Luke 10, for a second before I get into this. So the font is really small, but I'll get to it in a second. Listen, in this situation, there is Jesus. Okay, he comes to him and he wants to he wants to prove that Jesus with all the knowledge and with all of the insight that he has. And he says, "Hey, Jesus, what does it require to have eternal life?" And so Jesus asks him a question back. What do you think? That Jesus was expecting. He says, "Well, you got to love God and you got to love your neighbor." And Jesus is like, "Yep, that's all you got to do." Right? Like, I want people to know that I'm smarter than you. I have more knowledge than you. I'm older than you. I have everything on you. So he goes a little bit further and he says, "Fine then, who's your neighbor? Answer that for me." And so this is Jesus' response. In reply, Jesus said a story. He said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and when he was attacked by robbers, they stripped him of his clothes, they beat him, and they went away, leaving him half." Jesus says a priest, a pastor, somebody who's well respected, happened to be going down the side. So too, a leader knew what they were supposed to do. When he came to the place and saw him, he passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan is somebody who lived in a place that you just don't go to that side of town, right? You just don't go to that person. That's a Samaritan. Samaritan, the was, and when he saw him, he took pouring on oil and wine, and then he put and he took care of him. Had all the answers. You know anybody who? Listen, I got an answer for everything. Listen, I was that person. I'm just going to be real with you. I was the person who has, just don't Google it because it's probably wrong. But he had all the answers. He had done all the studying. He knew the right kind of person that Jesus is talking to. And Jesus, instead of telling him, that's not what I was going to do. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who knew everything? He responded, the one who had mercy on him. And so Jesus, the person who had all the knowledge, the person who went, knew the right things to do, but lost sight of his mission, and to remind. And so when we choose to sacrifice, and when us to do, whether or not Jesus says, when you get in line with what I've asked, don't expect anything else in return. When you're willing to stand up for justice, stand up for something, to stand in the gap, that is how other people see who I is. Don't tell them what you know. Until they know what you right? If all you have is knowledge, if all you have is Bible verses, that doesn't show people who Jesus is. You see, when Jesus began his ministry on earth, when Jesus his mission was to set people free. That was his mission. Set people free in different areas. Jesus talked about meeting people and just tell them, hey, life's going to be okay. He to feed the people who are hungry, to give the people. These were literal. And listen, when you partner with God on his, if we want to change the current direction that our society and that our culture and that our lives are headed on, it is when we get in line with what God's mission is that he can use us then to accomplish what it is that he's trying to do and in turn change the world. Because his mission is to help the people that are hurting. Jesus' mission is to heal the people that are broken. Jesus' mission is to set people free. Jesus' mission shame, from guilt, from fear, from addiction, from regret, from whatever it is that holds you down. That is what Jesus came to set you free from. And that is the mission that we are moving forward in. And you have been invited to be a part of God's mission. But the only way that we can stay at the center of it all, Jesus, right? You got to remember that, and you got to remember that Jesus came to set you free. Sin that change you from stuff that holds you. Says, listen, you're not. And that's what Jesus wants you to know. And so right now in society, the people physically, but there's also these needs of people about those needs. Are you able those who are hurting? So how, knowing how to change the course to do that, right? And those who are in need, and but how do I calls us to remember? To remember what it is that he's already done. Jesus calls us to remember people free. To restore brokenness, to rebuild things. Jesus isn't coming to destroy. But listen, Jesus calls us to never think about it. Is what he's done and what his mission is something that we have to constantly. If you even have in my own life, God has done. When I'm like when you think about the song that they were singing earlier, Waymaker. What does that mean? What does it mean to make a way? Has fallen through in their promises and let me down. It means that God sees. He says that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and he is that light. To songs, especially a song life is. And so we need to remember for ourselves, because if I'm being honest, of what God has done in my life, I can lose focus for other people. In Jesus, remember what the world because they're that he's going to make things right. The future, we have to remember the words and the stories and the moments of Jesus possible. Person who's hurt me 10 times, they will never change. The way that the world is headed, there's no hope of Jesus. We can possible to him. The things that we planning to because when we